In this tutorial, you'll get a crash course in the Procreate app. You'll learn the basic tips and tricks to get you drawing as quickly as possible. Let's get started. The gallery view is the first thing you'll see when you open Procreate. Here you can browse, create new files, as well as look at all your pieces. To start a new file, you'll see a variety of canvas-sized templates, or you can easily create your own. I like to use a high-resolution canvas, so I go with the full screen option. The first thing we'll do is take a look at the brushes. Tap the paintbrush in the upper right to access the brushes panel. Procreate comes with a variety of pre-installed brushes covering a range of mediums and style. But the real magic of Procreate is that you can install or even create your own custom brushes. If you tap on a brush, you'll see that each brush has dozens of settings. You can manipulate texture, shape, and fade. You don't need to know these settings right now, just know that they exist. Click Cancel to exit brush settings. Play around with the different brushes. Each brush has different abilities, so experiment with different levels of pressure, the speed of your stroke, and the tilt of your Apple Pencil to see the different effects. The sliders on the left allow you to control brush size and opacity. You can pinch and spread to zoom in or out and rotate your canvas. Do a quick pinch to have the canvas go back to full screen. If you make a mistake and want to undo it, simply tap with 2 fingers anywhere on the canvas. Tap and hold with 2 fingers to undo multiple. Apply 3 fingers to redo. Tap and hold with 3 fingers to redo multiple. Use 3 fingers to scrub the screen and clear everything. Let's take a look at the eraser tool. I'm going to color in a portion of the screen, then select the eraser, which is right here. The cool thing about it is you can use any of your brushes as an eraser. If I look at my brush, I can see that I'm using this one. Now, if I tap and hold the eraser, it will automatically select that brush to use as an eraser. Now I can erase and have my eraser marks match the brushes, and it'll look seamless. Let's talk about my favorite thing in the world, color. Tap the circle in the upper right and you'll see the color picker. Use the outer ring to select your hue and use the inner disc to fine-tune the lightness, darkness, or saturation of the color. Let's lay down a few colors. You can quickly select a color by tapping and holding on the screen to invoke the eyedropper. It lets you easily select a color that's already on the canvas. Let's save these colors we made. Open the color panel and tap Palettes. Tap the plus sign to create a new palette. Make sure it's set to default. Tap back over to the disc and we have a new empty palette to fill up. To save a color, just tap the square in the palette. Let's add all these colors to the palette. You can reorder the colors. Just tap, hold, and drag. To delete a color, tap and hold, then tap delete. This little finger icon is a smudge tool. It can smudge, smear, or soften, or combine brush strokes and colors. The opacity slider controls the strength of the smudging. This can be useful for things like creating smooth color transitions in your drawings. Moving on to layers. Layers are very powerful and one of the most useful elements of Procreate. They are packed with a ton of amazing features. Tap these 2 squares in the upper right to open the Layers panel. At the bottom is the background color. By default, it is white, but tap it to select any color as your background. Let's stick to white. Double tap the color just near white to automatically select the pure white value. This double tap feature works in 9 points on the color wheel and can help you find ideal color values. Back to the Layers panel. Tap the layer to access the Layers menu. You'll see several options, like Rename, Select, Copy, Fill, Clear, and more. Tap Clear so we can start fresh. Let's select yellow from our palette and draw a banana shape. To fill this area with color quickly, tap the circle and drag it into the shape. For the details of the banana, we're going to put those on a new layer. Tap Layers and tap Plus to create a new layer. Now I'm going to select a blackish brown and a different brush and draw my details. Because I'm working on a new layer, I can edit and erase and the banana layer remains unaffected. Tap this checkbox to hide and show layers. I want to add more texture to this banana. Nah, I don't like that. Undo. Go to that layer and swipe right with 2 fingers to enable alpha lock. The layer will now look like it has a checkboard pattern behind it. You can also tap and see that alpha lock is enabled. Now when I draw, the new color only appears where I've already drawn on that layer. Let's add a new layer. I'm going to draw a half circle shape. For the inner orange sections, I'm going to create a new layer. Tap it and turn on clipping mask. This is a function similar to alpha lock, where what I draw will only appear within the confines of the art on the layer below. But this time I can draw on a new layer. I can even turn on alpha lock on that layer and add texture and details. Select multiple layers by swiping right on each layer. Reorder layers by tapping, holding, and dragging. Adjust the opacity of the layer by tapping the N on that layer and adjusting the slider. You can merge layers by pinching them together. You can also duplicate a layer or delete a layer. There are a lot more layer options, so play around and see what they do. Here's another really awesome feature. Can't draw a straight line to save your life? Have no fear, quick line and quick shape are here. Draw a line, but don't pick up your pencil. There you go, a perfect line. You can move it around or put another finger on the screen to make it snap in 15-degree increments. Tap Edit Shape at the top to edit it further. You can also do ovals or circles, rectangles and squares, triangles, or weird crazy polygons. Okay, let's clear that. We'll draw some perfect circles, then we'll go ahead and fill them in and add a new layer. Now I'll draw some stems. The quick shape feature also works with arcs too, so we're going to use that here. Then I'm going to add a little bit of texture to the cherries, just like we did before with alpha lock. Let's take a look at the selection tool. It's the S-shaped icon in the upper left. Tap it to enable selection mode. The menu pops up at the bottom, so I like to zoom out the canvas to see everything. There are several types of selections, but the one I use most often is freehand. You can tap to make a polygon selection or draw a selection shape freehand. You can also have the option to feather or soften the selection edges and clear the selection. You can make rectangle selections and ellipse selections. Now I'm going to show you the transform tool. Let's make a new layer and we're going to write the word yummy. Nothing fancy. That's good. Well, maybe not perfect. Let's fix this Y. It's kind of off too far. I'm going to first select the Y and then tap the arrow to access the transform tool. This is what you use to move elements around the canvas. You can use the options at the bottom to flip, rotate. You can also grab this little green handle and rotate. If you turn the magnetics off, you can kind of move freely and you can resize any which way you want. If you have magnetics on, you'll get little guides when you move around, and if you resize, you'll maintain the uniform shape. Tap in any given direction around your selection to move pixel by pixel. If I tap the transform arrow without making a selection, that's going to select the entire contents of that layer. The distort function allows you to manipulate like this if you drag on the corners, or if you grab the edge, it'll kind of make a shearing effect. And then there's also the warp option, which you can really get crazy with. You can even fold over, grab in the middle, and move it around. Just get really weird with it. I'm going to reset that. Well, maybe just do something like this. You can select and transform multiple layers at a time. I'm going to go ahead and select all our layers by swiping right on each one, and then let's make a selection here. And you can see we can transform just that part. If you need to go back and edit your selection once in transfer mode, tap and hold the selection icon. Let's add another fruit to our canvas. Make a new layer, draw a line, add a little bit of texture using Alpha Lock. Okay, now let's look at the adjustments menu, which is this little magic wand icon. I would take some time to go through and see what each option does. Let's look at the Gaussian blur tool. Slide your pencil across the screen to increase the amount of blur. As you can see, the blur is only happening within the confines of this shape. That's because we have Alpha Lock turned on that layer. Turn it off and you'll see it blurs the whole object. I also want to show you a cool feature called Liquify. Just play around with each option and setting to get to know what they all do. You can push, twirl, pinch, expand, and more until you don't recognize the image anymore. Hue, saturation, and brightness is something I like to use a lot. Use the sliders to adjust the color, saturation, and brightness. And look! We can turn this lime into a lemon. Let's reset that. The last menu I'd like to show you is the Actions menu. It's the first icon in the toolbar and it looks like a wrench. Tap Add and then insert a photo. And let's choose this picture of some blueberries I saved. We're going to resize it and then we're going to add a new layer. This is really handy because you can take a photo and just trace over it, and then just turn off the layer with the photo. Let's add some texture to that. Next is Canvas, and one useful tool is Crop and Resize that allows you to change the shape and size of your canvas. Drawing guides can be really useful. To show you this feature, let's quickly create a new canvas. Turn on the drawing guide and tap Edit Drawing Guide. There are a few different drawing guides like a 2D grid, isometric, perspective, and the symmetry grid. Tap Radial and make sure Assisted Drawing is on, and then tap Done. Now just draw. It's actually pretty therapeutic to spend time just kind of doodling this way and having fun. Let's go back to our yummy piece. Tap Video under the Actions menu. One of my favorite things about Procreate is the ability to replay everything you've done in a time-lapse replay. It's really satisfying to watch the whole process. You can even export your time-lapse video to share or post. There's a whole load of preferences that you can customize to your liking. Finally, let's tap Share. You can share your artwork in a variety of formats. The two I use most are PSD and JPEG. PSD is a Photoshop compatible format that maintains layers. It's great if you need to finish up a piece on your computer, but the one you'll probably use most often is JPEG. Tap that and you can save the file to your device or share it in a number of ways. Now that we're all done learning about the Canvas interface, tap Gallery to exit back to the gallery view. I think it's always a good idea to give your piece a name, so let's call this one Yummy. Just tap the title and type it in. Swipe left on the thumbnail to access the same sharing options. You can also duplicate a file or delete it. You can reorder your files and organize them by grouping them in stacks. Tap Select at the top, then select the files you want in your group and tap Stack. You can rename your stack as well. Let's call this one Learning Procreate. I hope you found this tutorial useful and it got you excited about drawing in Procreate.